guys, Coral System here, back with another video on DID in the media. Today we're going to be talking about Law & Order SVU, Season 9, Episode 1. The main character is named Janice, who has 5 personalities, and she is thought to be the perpetrator of a kidnapping. There were some parts of it that were good and some parts of it that were really bad. She did have clear amnesia, including total blackouts during in between parts, which I found to be a good representation. They talked about passive influence, like her talking to herself in order to talk, and the alters talking through her, which I found that not a lot of things that work about DID really include that. Not a lot of representation includes passive influence and not being totally switched out in order to communicate. So I found that to be a good part of it. They didn't give a good, accurate definition of DID. They did say that it changed to DID, but they gave a very stigmatizing explanation of what it was. Including that it's always caused by childhood sexual abuse, which is false. It's caused by any kind of abuse, and it's even seen at a higher statistics in places that have more trauma around it, such as places of war, places of natural disasters. All of them have an increased risk of DID. It played into the all DID people are committers of crime trope, which is bad. It showed her not knowing her alters. She didn't really, some of her alters didn't know that they were alters, which I found kind of unique in representation because it's not really talked about that often. They give a good explanation, though, of the fact that it's a trauma disorder, that people are in therapy for it and have gone through a lot. And they talk about the controversy around it and kind of go in depth of to why the disorder is seen and controversial in society and some of the tropes. So I did like how they did touch on the controversy aspect of it, because giving kind of an explanation as to why it's controversial. Another thing I didn't like is that they used hypnosis on Janice to try to get her memories out, which using hypnosis is kind of a hit or miss. For some people with DID, hypnosis can work and be a good thing. With other people, hypnosis can be a very bad thing and be a very triggering thing. I've tried hypnosis before and it ended up not working on me. It caused me to rapid switch and be extremely triggered. It affects people in different ways, and it can be extremely dangerous for people with amnesia and who have problems with that, especially those that have gone through, that could have gone through trauma around hypnosis in the past. And also, and the last thing I didn't like about this is that they spent most of the episode, there's 2 main characters, Olivia Benson, and at the time Detective Stabler was a character on the show. He left it at a later time in the series, but he was still on at the time, and he spent the entire episode trying to say, she just has DID to escape charges. She just has DID to escape charges, like all this stuff. Even when she says in the episode that she does have it and she's in treatment for it, and even her therapist is aware and talks about the fact she does have DID, he's still trying to deny it and just say, well, she's just trying to get out of charges. Which, with the controversy around DID, especially the controversy around the courts, DID is not admissible in court for the insanity defense. If I were to commit a crime and be put in court, I could not plead insanity for my DID, even if I had amnesia for it and didn't know what was going on at the time. I would still go to jail for it, because in court, DID is not admissible for the insanity plea. Because they would say, my body still did it. One of my parts still did it. It was still technically me. So I need to face the consequences for it. So the trope that people use DID to try to get out of court, if they know that they won't go to jail for, if they know that how the court system works, they aren't going to try that, because it's not going to work. Billy Milligan is, I think, last time I checked, the only person in history to have ever been able to use it as an insanity defense before it was thrown out as a reason to plead insanity. So assuming that people are just using it all the time to get out of court or to try to escape responsibility is incorrect, especially since the character had clear documented proof of this being ongoing and clear documented proof of her extreme childhood trauma. And other characters, such as her siblings, confirming that she had significant trauma around this, and her alters experiencing significant triggers around certain topics. So, all in all, I do not think that this episode was a very good representation of DID. I think it's better than other ones, such as Split, but I still think that they really should have done better research. Now, I also have to take in consideration as to when this episode came out, because Order SVU started a long time ago. So Season 9, Episode 1 was still quite a long time ago. So, taking that into consideration, not a lot of research on DID is still developing, so I shouldn't cut them that much slack, but also I don't know how much resources were out at the time that this was created, so they could have tried to do the best of their ability and still screwed up. There was a point of time, a while ago, they thought that only sexual abuse could cause DID, so what we know now is different from what we know then. So, as of right now, I do not think this is an accurate representation of DID, and I think it has a lot of damaging tropes and dangerous ideas, especially around hypnosis, but for the time, it did look like they at least gave an effort, which I will give them points for. If you are a system, I really don't recommend watching this episode, but if you do, take it with a grain of salt when you watch it, and kind of look at it with the information that they had at the time, because there wasn't a lot of information out at that time. So this episode's kind of on the fence. It's bad, but I think it was more bad because of the information they had at the time. So that concludes the second episode of DID in the media. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. See you next episode.